Panthers, but Ron Meek's group has been making the big hits in the first 2 ball games. All-Pro John Beeson has led the way, but he's had some help from his friends, including second-year man Everett Brown and the rookie Greg Hardy. Meanwhile, the offense is looking for a little energy boost behind All-Pro D'Angelo Williams and new quarterback Matt Moore. The Titans come to the Carolinas to take on the Panthers coming up next. They call it dress rehearsal as teams across the NFL put their best foot forward in preparation for what they hope will be a successful season. Tonight, we'll learn more about this year's Panthers squad as they battle the Tennessee Titans. Good evening and welcome. Mike Morgan with you here. Thanks for stopping by. Well, everybody wants to know, where's the Panthers offense been hiding? No touchdowns thus far and very few big plays to speak of. Now, obviously, not having Steve Smith and Jonathan Stewart in the lineup, that has definitely been a factor. You're talking about over 2,000 yards of offense from a year ago. But tonight and the rest of the way, it's going to be up to the other guys to make some plays for this offense. And with that, we bring in my partner, Mike Rucker. Mike, we know this Panthers team can run the football. They've done it well now for a number of years, but if they're going to be a balanced attack, they're going to have to be able to find a number 2 receiver.
And you're exactly right. And number 2 was the question mark coming into this season, and no one's really taking the lead and taking the stick and running away. One of the guys has been Dwayne Jarrett. They say he has had a great camp thus far, but the question is he's only had 1 TD. Can he take it? We know that he has the ability and the speed, but can he take it and take the flag and take that number 2 spot?
Clearly the bright side for the Panthers thus far, defense, defense, defense. It's been dominating, and it all starts with a revamped defensive line.
Yes, and you know, Ron Meeks has got to be really happy thus far with this defense. Losing 6 starters has got to be really tough to replace, and the leadership. But when you come off and you have 11 sacks in your first 2 preseason games, you got to be real happy. This defense, and 94% of their plays against them, their opponent's offense has only been allowed 2 first downs or less. You'll win a lot of football games playing that kind of defense.
Tonight we'll get a look at one of the more dynamic duos in pro football with the Titans' Vince Young under center and the league's top rusher behind him in Chris Johnson. Panthers and Titans coming your way when we return.
Being brought to you by Panthers Checking, only from Bank of America. By Autobell. Autobell is the car wash provider of the Carolina Panthers. By Bojangles. It's bow time at Bojangles. Bojangles, the official tailgating headquarters of the Carolina Panthers. It's bow time. By Pepsi Max. 0 calories, maximum taste. By Sakrete. No matter what projects are in your lineup, Sakrete has the right concrete and masonry products for the job. Use what the pros use. Ask for Sakrete at your local home improvement store. And by Bud Light. Want to go home with me tonight? I'm the designated driver. Bud Light. Responsibility matters.
And welcome Mike Morgan and Mike Rucker with you at Bank of America Stadium. A beautiful night here in Charlotte, North Carolina. The Panthers playing host to the Tennessee Titans. Mike Rucker, let's take a look at our North Carolina lottery keys to the ball game.
Well, this Tennessee Titans defense, you got a lot of no-names guys on there. They've lost a lot of big names in the past. Albert Haynesworth, Kyle Vanden Bosch, Keith Bullock. So they have something to prove out here tonight, and they want to continue to be better. The Carolina Panthers, I'm going to go what I talked about last week in drive time. 86% of the drives have produced 2 first downs or less. So that's something that they really need to key on tonight, is getting the ball down the field and getting some first down and getting some energy for this upcoming season. Matt Moore, he's going to be a big key guy tonight. Again, this will be another step in the right direction for the Matt Moore era. Can he get this offense getting going downfield?
All right, once again patrolling the sidelines for our Gatorade Herd Around the Core report, it's Pete Yannity.
Well, Mike, tonight's game important for a lot of players on the Panthers roster. Among them are Monty Edwards, the rookie out of Appalachian State. Of course, the big thing for him this year is becoming a key in the punt return game, and John Fox telling us this week he's going to put him right back out there tonight after a couple of rough edges on punt returns last week for Edwards. The Fox philosophy in the preseason, find out what guys can do, and tonight he wants to see what he thinks is the real Armani Edwards on punt runbacks.
And I think that's really the best thing to do. You got a guy that obviously maybe suffered a little bit of stage fright, Mike, but the only way you're going to get over it, as John Fox told us, is to get right back out there.
Absolutely. You gotta go right back at it, and it's all about confidence. You got to instill some confidence in him, and he'll get another shot tonight.
The Panthers winning the toss, selecting to defer. This is Damian Williams, the rookie out of Southern Cal, on the return, who doubles up as one of their wide receivers, and a good return. Finds an alley on the right side near the 30-yard line. Take a look at the Miller Lite starting lineups. First, your Tennessee Titan starting lineup. Johnson, boy, I mean, could you have a better year than he had last year in the backfield? You've got some other guys as well. Britt's a guy to keep an eye on. He's a second-year wideout out of Rutgers to try to get the passing game going. A lot of veterans on that offensive line. A couple of guys, including Scott, with 88 consecutive starts, plenty of experience, and of course Vince Young, who really turned it on last year, fifth-year man out of Texas, and it's his team the rest of the way. He will operate the controls. We'll see Kerry Collins later in this game, but Vince Young has once again established himself as the leader. First play from scrimmage. That is the back, Chris Johnson. He's bottled up right near the line. Dan Connor on the stop. Taking a look at the starting defense for the Panthers, and boy, it's been a good unit thus far. Johnson and Johnson alongside Leonard and Everett Brown. Very good-looking second-year man out of Florida State. Beeson now playing the outside, Connor in the middle, and Anderson on the outside as well. And a very salty secondary. Gamble and Martin at the corners. Godfrey and Marshall are the safety. Second down, 10 yards to go. How about Johnson again? He'll probe the left side, and again he is smothered immediately. Charles Johnson, fourth-year man out of the University of Georgia, on the stop. Let's take another look at Everett Brown on this play, Mike.
You know, Everett Brown, you know, a lot of people said he was undersized, but this guy's put on some weight, and he's taking the guy at the line of attack, shedding that blocker and holding that up. He didn't make the corner short. He strung the play out, allowed his defensive guys to come and help him make the tackle.
That sets up a 3rd down and 8. Panthers defense has been very good on 3rd and long thus far. 4-man rush. Young has time. Now he's hit from behind. From the weak side, it's Everett Brown. Loose football at the 25-yard line. A scrum ensues, and we'll see who recovers. The Titans do recover. It'll be 4th down. No, they'll have to punt it away. Everett Brown continuing to knife in and make plays.
Well, you know, Everett Brown, we just saw him on the run play at the point of attack, and now he's getting after the quarterback. You got a sack, fumble. That's what you got to love as a defensive end. Look at him just powering the guy out of the way. Get out of my way. It doesn't matter if I'm not 300 pounds. He gets him out of the way and gets the sack.
Jake Scott recovers the fumble to keep the football in the hands of the Titans, but they will punt it away on 4th down. Armani Edwards is back to receive. Let's see if he can field this one cleanly. He does. Backpedaling from the 25 at the 20. And it's not Armani. He's down to the 22-yard line. That's actually Trent Guy. And Trent Guy is a very interesting story at the University of Louisville. First time we've seen him on a return. They believe that he'll be a good wide receiver as well. Let's take a look at the starting lineups now offensively for the Panthers. And this unit obviously has a lot of potential, but they haven't done a whole lot yet. D'Angelo Williams, you know he's good. Fiametta, the new blocking fullback. They want to see Dwayne Jarrett pick it up for sure at the wideout spot. Veteran offensive line, only one new starter. That will come at right guard. Again, Jeff Otop banged up. He is not in the ball game tonight, but expect him to be ready for week number 1. D'Angelo Williams with some nifty footwork, but can't get out of trouble as he is dropped for a loss by Jason McCourty. Starting quarterback for the Panthers once again is Matt Moore. He is 6-2 as a starter. He's got the only 8 starts of any Panther quarterback. That is the fewest amount in the National Football League. And you see the preseason numbers, obviously a little bit shaky, but then again, to be fair, he has not had 2 of his top weapons, including Pro Bowl wide receiver Steve Smith. With all that being said, I'd really like to see this offense sustain some drives tonight, as Mike Rucker mentioned in the open. Moore, handoff, nothing doing. That play is stonewalled. D'Angelo Williams, no daylight. Bear hugged by Michael Griffin and Jason Jones. Defense for the Titans, well, they were 28th in the National Football League last year. Got our names like Van den Bosch and Hainsworth from a couple of years ago, but they believe Jones, 91, is a guy that's going to be a big-time player. Witherspoon, the former Carolina Panther, a guy that was a tackling machine in Charlotte for a number of years. This is probably the strength of their defense right now, is the secondary, including Chris Hope former Florida State Seminole out of nearby Rock Hill, South Carolina. 3rd down and 11. Moore has time, fires complete, right near the first down marker. And that is 88. Dante Rosario, the tight end, 4th-year man out of Oregon. 12 yards on the pickup, and that'll move the chains.
You got to use the tight end sometimes, and Dante wide open down the middle. This is one of the things. If you get stoned in the running game, the receivers are having a little struggling problem, bring your tight end. Work the tight end in the middle of the field, loosen this secondary up, and that's what they did getting the first down.
The Panthers with a good trio of tight ends. 1st down and 10. Little swing pass. Here's Williams. Shakes and bakes and gets it out to the 40-yard line. We saw Rosario make the catch on the last play, and he is not alone in terms of tight ends that can make some plays. Jeff King, a guy they're very high on. Gary Barnidge, who's the young guy, but don't sleep on him this year. They like him as well. They're going to use all three. They believe that they've got good depth at this position. Some teams will have one guy catch 80 balls. Together, these three might combine for 80, but bottom line is, Mike, they can all play.
Well, one of the things is, here you're going to probably primarily use as a blocking for these running backs, and you can see them, they block very well, but they can also catch the ball, and that's important in this offense also.
On 2nd and 4, it's Williams, and he's an ankle tackle away from a huge gain. As it is, it's a 1st down. Chris Hope saved a lot more yardage on that one. Give D'Angelo 7 yards on that pickup.
Just a typical run play, but D'Angelo, it doesn't matter. After contact, he's going to keep going. And this is what they need to sustain drives. Mix it up. You get a nice pass play, run play. You know what? We've got 2 first down, and we're starting to get a little juice going. And that's what they've been working on all week.
5.4 yards a carry for D'Angelo Williams. He averaged 5.1 in the regular season, so no surprise there. Moore again going to the air, to the sideline, a leaping catch. Nice play. That is number 15, Wallace Wright, the special team whiz from the Jets. They believe he might be able to help out the receiving corps. A 12-yard pickup.
Well, this is a guy that has played special teams for a long time and is very great. Now all of a sudden he's getting a look at the receiving corps, and he's going to need to be able to be a big player in this wide receiver corps, because he's going to be dressing every week. Got his both feet down. You just don't catch the ball, but you got to be a ballerina in a sense and getting your feet down. Yeah. He did a great job getting them down.
Nice tight wire act there by Wright. On 1st down, back to the ground, as it's Tyrell Sutton trying to gut something up the middle. 2nd-year man out of Northwestern, Stephen Tulloch, there to meet him.
One of the things is you set the pass up by the run. And, when you can run and have a ground game, that's going to open up the passing game. And if you look at the stats, you'll see that the Panthers have been throwing the ball more because they know what they have in the run game. They know what they have in the running backs, but they need to see the wide receivers. And so now that's why they've been throwing the ball a little bit more, because they need to find their number 2, number 3 guys.
Yeah, they were 3rd in the NFL in rushing last year, double triple. They're going to be able to run the football. I think everybody wants to see what they can do through the air. Moore's going to go to the air. He's got Jarrett, and he overshot him. That would have been 6 as Jarrett gets by the secondary. Verner, the rookie out of UCLA, was toasted, and Moore would love to have that one back.
It was a great route by Dwayne, just about a couple yards short, and that would have definitely been a touchdown. I guess Matt would really like to probably have that one, take a little bit of mustard off of that one.
See the passing game thus far for the Panthers, and obviously the completion percentage needs to be much better than what it has been thus far. You take a look at the top quarterbacks around the NFL, they're all over 60% in this day and age. This is the 9th play of this drive. Mike Rucker, you asked for longer drives. So far the Panthers have given you one. Moore escapes trouble, dumps it off to Rosario, but he's got nowhere to run and nowhere to hide as the drive will stall here. Tulloch wraps him up, and the Panther punting unit will be onto the field.
But you see Matt Moore when he steps up. He feels the pressure. He didn't panic. He didn't start scrambling. He kept his eyes downfield, threw it, checked it down. No, they didn't get the first down. But for a young quarterback, he has the poise of a veteran, and that's what you like to see, and you can build on that.
Well, this was the MVP of a week ago, which I'm sure the family of Jason Baker was very appreciative of that award, but by the same token, we'd like to see a different player of the game than the punter this week.
False start, 59 in the offense, 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
That is our referee tonight, Jeff Triplett, one of the veterans of the National Football League. And we've got a special twist to this officiating crew. We'll tell you about that later on. The NFL continuing to experiment with things, including the umpire now being positioned behind the line of scrimmage, and they've thrown another wrinkle our way tonight. Another punt here by Baker. High, kind of a wobbler inside the 10. Fair catch by Williams, and the Titans will take over. 1st and 10. 40-yard punt from Baker. Titans back on the field. He was a 13-year NFL official, and after a courageous battle with cancer, he passed away earlier this year. And you'll see the letters BL on the back of the hat. That is in honor of the late Bob Lawing. And you know, we mentioned there's a little bit of a twist with this game in terms of officiating. That is Richard Reels. Why is that significant? He is the 8th official tonight. He is positioned in the defensive backfield opposite the back judge, and they're experimenting having an extra set of eyes on the field. I don't think anybody would complain about that. The more eyes, the better. Young to the air on 1st down, and a nice catch by his tight end, Craig Stevens, 3rd-year man out of Cal. Both these teams love to use the tight end.
Again, you got the running game of both teams, but then they also are using their tight ends early. You know, you got a 8-man front because they thought there was going to be a run, so sometimes that will allow you to be a little vulnerable in the secondary. It was a great catch by the tight end. Sometimes you're going to give that up. When you're playing defense like this Panther defense has, playing very well, you'll allow some of that from time to time.
23 yards through the air. Sherrod Martin on the coverage. Young again fires it in the flats. Again caught by Stevens, and he is upended in a hurry by Chris Gamble. Gamble, the 7th-year man out of Ohio State. Bud Light scoreboard. Detroit Lions defeating the Cleveland Browns. Buffalo up on Cincinnati. Tampa and Jacksonville 3-3. We're hoping not to have a similar score late in this ball game. Baltimore leading the Giants 10-0. Week 3, they call it dress rehearsal. You're going to see the starters for most of the night, and a very serious tune-up to get ready for the start of the regular season. Johnson rips off about 4 or 5 on the right side. 3rd-year man out of East Carolina. John Beeson brings him down. Well, Chris Johnson over 2,000 yards last year. He's saying, I'm going to get 2,500 this year. Don't know if he will, but Mike Rucker, a lot of people said this guy was too small coming out of college of East Carolina. This just in, he's big enough.
Yeah, he runs very hard, and as a football player and as a running back, that's what you want. When you're averaging over 5 yards a carry, coach can just hand the ball to you down after down. You're getting 1st down. He's done very well. This Panther defense has done well, you know, the last 2 weeks on these national stage with these running backs. They're doing a good job so far.
On 3rd down, Young will tuck it and run, and he does this as well as any quarterback in the NFL. That's 1st down yardage, escorted by James Anderson. But Vince Young, you get him out of the pocket, be prepared.
And this is one thing as a defensive lineman. You're going to get after the quarterback, but if you make a move, you're going to leave yourself vulnerable sometimes to a mobile quarterback. And so sometimes they'll get on the edge and they'll use their feet. And that's what makes those mobile quarterbacks like a Vince Young, who has that added offense with his feet. You know, you have some of the quarterbacks that just stand there and throw the ball, don't move, but he gives you that added piece as an offense because he got his feet to run with.
It's been a 5-year roller coaster ride for Young, but they believe he's on top. He's looked really good. Not good on this one, as he is sandwiched, tries to dump it forward. I don't know if they're going to let him get away with it. I think they'll say in the grasp. A couple of blue jerseys, including Charles Godfrey and James Anderson.
Well, he wasn't using his feet that time.
They had him by multiple angles, and they will rule him down. This is the right call.
You know, once again, you just bring the blitz, you bring the corners, you bring the safeties, you bring the house. You get a sack, and this defense has done very well, whether it's their front 4 or where they mix it up and they throw a little blitz in there. They've done a great job in corralling the quarterback. I mean, once again, you know, the same song, but 1st quarter, we got 2 sacks already.
12th sack of the preseason for the Panthers, a loss of 9. 2nd down and long. Johnson, nothing doing on the right side. Chris Gamble, who had 50 tackles a year ago, picks up one there.
you know, Chris Gamble, in this cover 2, you're going to be demanded to make tackles out there by yourself out there, and he did a great job taking the legs out of the big fella.
As the last 2 years, and you'll notice 2 names from this ball game. Chris Johnson, number 1, D'Angelo Williams right there at number 4, 2 of the top running backs in the National Football League, and these are 2 teams that rely heavily on the running game. Young, all kinds of time, goes left side to complete to 87. Lavelle Hawkins, third-year man out of Cal, but that'll be well short of the first. Captain Munnerlyn was there, and the Titans will punt it right back to the Panthers.
Once again, defense getting off the field. I mean, that is key as a defense. You want to get off the field, and they're doing that. Whether it's by the blitz or whether they're stopping the run, they're getting off the field, getting the ball back to their offense. You give your offense the ball enough time, some good things will happen.
Again, it's Trent Guy back to receive. Little 5'8" water bug rookie out of Louisville. He's a hometown product out of Charlotte. Calls for the fair catch and lets it bounce inside the 10. That's a no-no. And that'll be a mistake there by the rookie. The Panthers will be behind the 8 ball. Going to have a long drive to go. And we return after a word from your local Panthers station. Brought to you in part by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. No score here at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. Mike Morgan alongside Mike Rucker. A 9-play drive the first time out. And as we look at our Belk player watch, it focuses on the guy that led the way on that first drive, D'Angelo Williams, Mike.
And D'Angelo has not done anything that we didn't think he was going to do. He's run the ball very hard, and it continues to do that. And that's going to open up the passing game. You know, our first drive, you know, they started off with a great pass down the middle with Dante Rosario. Matt Moore got off to a great start there and then handed off to the big fella, D'Angelo Williams, who had a big run there. Matt Moore wished that he could get that one back just a little bit, barely missing that touchdown to Dwayne Jarrett. But they've got some consistency going with running the ball, getting the ball downfield to receivers and tight ends. They're kind of mixing it up, and that's what they need to get the juices going.
Yeah, good balance. Matt Moore, 4 of 5 on that opening drive. A 9-play drive. That's progress. Now the Panthers have to capitalize and find the end zone as Tony Fiammetta, the intended target. It's going to be an interesting role for him. He was a guy that had to wait his turn last year. Brad Hoover was such a valuable part of this offense for so many years, Ruck, and now that job has basically been handed over to Fiammetta.
And he's got the size and the ability, you know, and the fullback is in this offense is going to be a blocker, but he's going to be asked to catch the ball out of the backfield, which Brad did a great job in his tenure here as a Panther. Caught the ball and was able to turn it up.
3rd down and 9. Conservative approach here. It's going to be Williams. Williams looks like he found the marker before he stepped out of bounds. Well, it'll depend on the spot. Nope. He's going to be short. I thought maybe he was able to get by before being escorted out of bounds.
One thing D'Angelo does, he makes it look so easy. He just takes it off tackle and dips outside. He finds the air and almost gets the first down. But he makes it so easy, the talented running back. He can catch the ball and he can also run it.
Going to be a yard short. So after a 9-play drive the first go, a 3-and-out here. Davian Williams back to receive the punt from Jason Baker, 10th-year man out of the University of Iowa. And this is a beauty. Angling back and letting it bounce inside the 20, inside the 15, and it rolls dead at the 13-yard line. Oh my goodness, get the tape measure out. 74 yards. Back with the Titans.
Bank of America Stadium once again, and well, so far Everett Brown has made a lot of noise on the defensive front tonight going after Vince Young. He's not the biggest guy in the league, but he has that other quality they look for in the NFL.
That's my game. Speed, quickness, being able to create momentum and counter it, being able to get off blocks fast and free myself up to run from sideline to sideline, because I can do that.
You know, and speed is one thing that you can't teach, and he has that. And he has shown his ability to get around the corner. And what you can do is you can set up a lot of your moves off of the speed rush. And he's done a great job so far being a young guy.
Speaking of speed, there's Johnson but he had nowhere to run but out of bounds. Greg Hardy, the rookie out of Ole Miss, a guy that could turn out to be one of the steals of this draft. 6th round pick, the number 175 pick overall. 2 years ago, he had 17 sacks, led the Southeastern Conference. He had 2 sacks in the opener against Baltimore. And look, the sky is the limit with this guy. It's just a matter of him staying focused, working out, and if he does, he's got a chance to be a real good one. 2nd and 12 for Young. Going deep down the sideline, penalty flag, and that's going to be interference in all likelihood. 31, Richard Marshall, was draped all over the intended target, which was Kenny Britt. Marshall, the 5th-year man out of Fresno State.
Pass interference, defense, number 31. Automatic first down.
You know, Richard, it looks like he kind of slipped a little bit, but trying to catch back up. And, you know, sometimes you might have to hand check him, stick that hand out there. Yes, you give up their yards, but maybe he catches the ball if he doesn't get back up there. Sometimes that happens.
Right. You gladly give up that penalty, because if you don't, I don't think anybody was back there to get him. That might have been 6 for Britt. 2nd penalty on the Panthers. Young again to the air. And incomplete. Trying to find one of his tight ends. Again, both these teams like to go to the tight end. That was Craig Stevens, the intended target. But Ron Meeks, we haven't talked a whole lot about him yet, but his defense has been terrific now in his 2nd year. Of course, he really made a name for himself in Indianapolis, many years under Tony Dungy there, and now running the show here in Carolina. Successful year last year, a top 10 defense, and they hope to have the same. 6 new starters. Going to be some more challenges for Ron and company, but so far so good. Quick drop by Young. And a short throw underneath, not much on the gain. Richard Marshall was there to meet Kenny Britt.
You talked about Ron Meeks. You know, he's got to be pleased in the direction that you're going. I mean, you have a veteran defense. Your first year, you have a top 10 defense. Then all of a sudden, you lose 6 starters and a lot of veteran leadership. And all of a sudden, you got a young bunch. And a lot of times, you have the speed, but you might not have the leadership and the game time. And they've done a great job so far in his defense.
Young doesn't appear to be in any hurry to get this play off, so that will be the end of the first quarter. No score coming out of this first 15 minutes of action. We'll take a break. We're back after a word.
That's the end
from your local
first quarter.
Panthers station. We're back after a word from your local Panthers station. In the second half, we'll see a very familiar face to Panther fans, Kerry Collins, now in his 16th year out of Penn State, the first ever draft choice by the Panthers. And there's an interesting write-up in the local paper about Kerry Collins this morning. I thought was very good. Talked about how he's grown up a lot over the last decade or so. Young finds Johnson. He's got good hands, but he's got nowhere to go on that one. Chris Gamble has been all over the place tonight with another tackle, and the Titans will punt it away. So the Panthers will get another return. Trent Guy. They're trying to find some guys who can return the football well this year. Last year, that was really a weakness for this Panthers team. One of the worst years that the Panthers have ever had in terms of kickoff and punt returns. Guy goes backwards, couldn't read it, and it'll bounce into the end zone. It'll be a touchback. 49-yard punt. No return. Back with more from Charlotte in a moment. Second quarter action. There is Steve Smith. Obviously not going to play tonight. Might see him next week against Pittsburgh. We shall see. I know they want to keep him healthy, but we had a chance to talk to him earlier in the week. He sounds like he's in good shape. Let's take a look at our first quarter stats brought to you by Bank of America. And as you would expect with a scoreless game, not a whole lot of yards either. 45 for the Panthers, 32 for the Titans, and the average starting field position obviously a factor in that as well. Panthers had a nice opening drive, 9 plays. but then it's stalled at the 31. One back set on 2nd and long. Moore completes to Moore. And the Moore to Moore show gets kicked off. Let's hear from John Fox talking about this year's offense for the Panthers.
We got to perform and we got to execute better. I don't think it's so much been, them not being in there. It has been just us looking at some things in the passing game and, trying to evaluate some players in those spots. And I think this week you'll see a little bit more of our real philosophy.
And when you talk about real philosophy, you just see that quarterback raise up and zinging out there. Usually you see Steve Smith out there, but Kenneth Moore did a great job of catching that and getting it down there.
Moore tries to find an open man over the middle. It's Brandon LaFell. Brandon LaFell, as we highlighted in the open, is a guy that's in a dogfight right now with Dwayne Jarrett for that number 2 spot.
Matt Moore stays in the pocket. He takes a big hit. Kind of comes down a little wrong, a little gingerly on that ankle, but kind of shakes it off a little bit. Hopefully he's all right. They're going to need him this year to stay healthy. So he's not going to be able to take those little pitter pats too many times.
Drive stalls. Baker on. An incredible punt his last time up, and this one's not bad either. Dead at the 33. That's where the Titans will take over. Still scoreless. No score in the second quarter. 13-15 remaining in the first half of play. Each team kind of feeling each other out at this point in time. The Titans back out on offense. Of course, this will be the final preseason game here at home. But before you know it, the Panthers will have the regular season home opener. That'll be against the Tampa Bay Bucks. 1,200 tickets remain, so if you haven't already purchased your tickets, go ahead and get ready. Jump on board now. Don't waste any more time. And we'll see you here on September the 19th at Bank of America Stadium. On first down, the Titans go to the ground, and not surprisingly, it's Chris Johnson. Plows ahead for about 5. Well, this Panthers defense has been stout once again, Mike Rucker.
They have, whether it's been on the run or whether they've been sacking the quarterback. This is going to be defense by committee. Whether it's the linebackers taking sacks, corners getting sacks, or whether you got defensive ends running sideline to sideline. They are defense by committee. Your number's called, make the play, and they've done a great job of doing that.
I would say Ron Meeks has to be awfully happy with what he has seen. Again, 6 new starters on this defense. Johnson lowers the shoulder, tries to bull rush, but Charles Johnson, 4th-year man out of Georgia. He dropped 20 pounds this offseason. He was all SEC at Georgia, number 95. And Mike, I know when you talk to guys like Brian Baker, the defensive line coach, they rave about the difference, not only physically, but mentally with Charles Johnson.
Well, they've had the opportunity, and now it's here. And they're stepping up, and they're looking. The light bulb has come on. They're being attentive in meetings. They're asking questions because now they are the veterans. Even though they're 3, 4, 5-year guys, they're the veterans, and they're stepping up, and they're doing it in a big way.
Titans just 1 of 4 on 3rd down. This is 3rd and 3. It's Johnson. Forget about it. He is devoured behind the line of scrimmage. Charles Godfrey, 3rd-year man out of Iowa, became the first rookie in team history a couple of years back to start all 16 games at safety.
Well, Tennessee's had a great job, did a great job last year running, but not on this Panther defense so far. You got your safety coming up, and as a safety, you're going to be asked to come and bring your big boy pads, and he did that, and you tackled one of the best running backs in the NFL.
Punt returning has not been pretty this preseason for the Panthers. Room for improvement right here. Trent Guy calls for the fair catch, and surrounded by about 4 white jerseys, he makes it. Still scoreless. We're back after a word from your local Panthers station.
Scoreless here early in the second quarter. Pete Hannity back with you. Jeff Fisher's Titans use a 4-3 defense. It's the only look of that kind the Panthers are seeing in the preseason. But it's pretty important that Carolina gets out against that front. That's what they go against in practice every day from an offensive standpoint. And in the NFC South, the Panthers division, those other three teams also use the 4-3. So tonight a good training ground game from that respect.
They're definitely able to see the 4-3 that they are normal of seeing all the time because they practice against it. Their conferences all 4-3. So they're pretty happy to see this 4-3 and be able to use some of their run techniques that they've been in the past.
D'Angelo Williams stuffed at the line. We talked about the importance of sustaining drives. First possession, 9 plays, that's good. Unfortunately resulting in a punt. Back-to-back 3-and-outs since then, and 17 yards combined of total offense for the Panthers. So again, Mike, you know, we talk about it, and a lot of people obviously realize the results are not the most important thing about these games, but certainly you want to get some kind of flow going on the offensive side of the football.
Yeah, you definitely want to get the flow, but you also need to see your guys in certain situations. And if you've noticed, you've had different receiving combinations start every game. And so they're wanting to see how guys interact.
They say Fiametta was down before the ball went out. So another 3rd down and long for Matt Moore and company.
It definitely makes it tougher when you're in longer distance, and that's where your running game helps you, get to shorter yards where you're dinking and dunking and making some things happen. Definitely makes it tougher when you're 3rd and 9, but it's definitely something that you're able to manage, that you can get. You just have to dial up your 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12 type plays, which they're getting practice at.
Panthers 1 of 4 on 3rd down. Titans showing blitz. Here it comes. Draw play. Goodson. Nothing. Panthers will have to punt it away. Mike Goodson, who they really like, out of Texas A&M, the closest thing the Panthers have to a change of pace back. And we hear that term so often, Mike. Why don't you tell the folks out there exactly what that means?
Well, what they mean by change of pace is that this guy, he's not going to be the biggest guy, but he's scattered. You can line him up at receiver or slot, and you're going to get that mismatch of bringing that linebacker out there. So he could change the pace of the game with his speed.
On the return, not much there for Williams, but pretty good field position overall for the Titans. Not much offense to speak of yet. We'll see if each team can pick it up. Beautiful night here in Charlotte. Bank of America Stadium, one of the nicer venues in the National Football League. Tonight's telecast being brought to you in part by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. Titans football from the 34. Javon Ringer is in the game. We might have seen the last of Chris Johnson, who was actually held in check by the Panthers defense. Ringer, second-year man out of Michigan State, is blown up by Lewis Leonard. Let's send it down to the field. Pete Hannity is standing by.
Of course, Mike, absent from the Panthers defense during the preseason, Thomas Davis, you recall, last year near the midway mark, he suffered a knee injury that knocked him out in what was a fine season, 71 tackles. And then during the offseason work, he re-injured that same right knee. Now, John Fox saying this week the hope is to get Thomas Davis back at some point this season. In fact, his absence is a main reason why John Beeson was moved to the weak side. But it's still wait and see in terms of whether or not Davis will be able to get in action this year.
Young with a deep ball and good coverage on the play by Sean Gamble.
But, you know, Thomas Davis, when you look at his numbers, being hurt halfway through the season, on track to, add to what he's already done as a pro. And he is heart and soul of this defense as John Beeson, this linebacker core. And when that happened, that injury happened, that took a big blow. But John Beeson, he took the reins. You can obviously see that Thomas Davis is a fast healing guy. Otherwise, they've already would have dealt with him. So they do see like maybe there might be a flash of hope that maybe they can get him back. He's on good pace to do that. So we'll wait and see. But he's definitely a playmaker out there on the field that they miss.
Not sure if there's a better athlete pound for pound on this team than Davis. On 3rd and long, a nice pass by Vince Young, but out of bounds. Kenny Britt unable to get both feet in, so the Titans now 1 of 6 on 3rd down.
Again, you know, Vince Young can do it with his feet, but he's got a strong arm. He's got good accuracy. Just ran out of real estate. Captain, be underneath that, forced him to go wide. I mean, that's part of that zone defense. You're forcing that guy to make that shoestring throw, and just ran out of real estate.
Another chance for Trent Guy. Another good punt. Guy will field it inside the 10. Trying to find some daylight, can't do it. That's not on him. There's really no alleys on that play. 57-yard punt and a minimal return. We're back after a word from your local Panthers station. Scoreless game. Matt Moore, an undrafted free agent, talks about gaining confidence in the NFL.
When I went in there and not only proved to myself, but I think proved to guys on the team, my teammates, that I can play. I think most importantly myself. I mean, that's when the confidence grows, and you go out there and get back to playing football again. And that was a big deal, you know, to know that, all right, I can do this, you know. So that was a huge deal.
And that's huge as a quarterback, is having that confidence. And sometimes it grows when you don't know you're going to be thrown in there. And somebody gets hurt and you're just thrown in there, you don't have to think about it. That confidence starts to grow. And obviously he's done that, whether it's in the pocket.
Easy pass interference call there. McGrath tried to go through Fiametta instead of playing the football. So
51 in the defense. Automatic first down.
Some progress there. But you're absolutely right, Mike. I mean, confidence is such a key part of quarterback play. And I think if you look at maybe one stat that defines the value for this offense in the context of what John Fox, how he likes to play the game. Last year in 5 starts, he turned the ball over 1 time. And they've got one of the best running games in the NFL. They hope to once again have a top 10 defense. So that's key.
It is. It is. And that's one thing that Matt talked about last week was, hey, I know I got great running backs, but I just don't need to turn the ball over. And when you have Steve Smith come back and you can get the receiving core going in that running game, it'll start meshing. You'll have your weapons out there, and you don't need to take those chances. There's nothing going on this last play. D'Angelo tries to hit it, the corner comes up. You know, D'Angelo, they try to get him going today, and they know D'Angelo's a great running back, so when he's back there and they have that guy back there, they're going to bring in the defense. They're going to bring that 8-man box.
You see the Bud Light scoreboard at the bottom of your screen. The Panthers on 2nd down and 10. Moore surveys, fires, and almost picked off. That route was jumped by McCourty, trying to hit the tight end. Jeff King is going to be a big target this year.
Great route, great throw, but Matt, he'll have to understand that that's one of the toughest throws to make as a quarterback, is that out route, because the ball's in the air for a long time. So that defender gets his head turned around. He has time to make a jump or a play on the ball. You have to put a lot of zip on that. It's a hard throw. Luckily, he didn't get that interception, but that's something that he'll continue to work on as a young quarterback. Some of the throws are harder than others. You got to get that one in there.
3 words I've said a lot tonight. 3rd and long. Moore out of the hands of LaFell. Now that's a tough play, but if you know the history of Brandon LaFell, it's something he's got to work on. He had a lot of drops at LSU. He's talked about it. He says he doesn't want to think about it. You got to focus on the next play, but one of the reasons why this guy slipped to the 3rd round is his hands.
Again, a similar route coming to the out. No one said it's going to be easy. Your catches, the balls are going to be high, but you got to bring that one down. If your hands get on it as a receiver, you got to have the mentality, I need to bring this down, especially in a crucial drive or a crucial situation like that.
As a penalty flag falls to the field.
False start. Number 54, the offense. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
You know, overall, if there's one thing I can say about the prettiness of this game, if you will, is that there have not been a ton of penalties, which is always a refreshing sight in a preseason game. It's 3 now for 35 yards. The Titans have not had many on their side of the ledger either. Baker booms another one. Fielded at the 40. 45. Fumble. Big time stick. Ball is on the ground. Panthers say they've got it, and they do. There's a special teams play. Not in the return game so much, but a big-time lick. We'll see if we can find out who popped the pads on that one.
And this is the spark that you're looking for, getting hats and blue jerseys around the football. And that's what they did. They put the hat on the football, popped it out. This is the spark that you're looking for to get your ball club going. As you can hear the sound, you can hear them popping pads. This is what football's all about. Running 50 yards and being able to hit somebody and jarring the ball loose and giving the ball back to your offense. That's football.
That was Jamar Williams on the recovery, and a big-time lick by Tyrell Sutton out of Northwestern, the backup running back and special teams man. Best field position of the night. See if that can energize this Panthers offense. Williams ahead for a yard.
And coaches, as a coach, this is what you look for. We call this sudden change. Whether it's on defense, your defense got to run out there, or your offense. How do you respond where you're sitting down, you're getting a drink of water, cooling off, and all of a sudden you got to find your helmet and get back out there? How do you respond? Getting the ball in good field position, can you capitalize on it?
High formation on 2nd and 9. Williams didn't have a chance. Guys getting in the backfield. That's Jason Babin.
Well, you have your fullback and running back. It's no secret you're going to run the ball, and they threw the blitz. I mean, they blitz the guys, and the defensive end just sheds that block and comes in and makes that tackle. Again, if you're back down in your 3rd and 10, it makes it a little bit more difficult to get that first down when you have this kind of yardage.
Yeah, 1 of 6 on 3rd down, but it's been 2nd down. It's been such a lackluster down for the Panthers tonight, setting up these 3rd and longs. 4-man rush, Moore underneath. And just a 3-yard pickup. Dwayne Jarrett with the reception. I don't know, Mike Rucker, do you not have to go for the first down on that?
Well, you try to. You have your plays that dial up. Naturally, it's harder to throw plays. The defensive line has more time to get back to the quarterback the longer the routes are. You want to go for the sticks, but if it's not there, you got to take what the defense gives you sometimes. It's better to be able to punt the ball than the ball going the other way because you made a bad decision. So, yes, you would like, something else, but you're punting the ball.
Baker going to try to pin it inside the 20. Had a chance, almost a perfect punt. 41 yards. The Titans will have it at the 20. Still scoreless here in the first half from Charlotte. Scoreless game here in the 2nd quarter of play. We mentioned the Panthers have 6 new starters on defense, but keep in mind they've still got a lot of other young guys on the defense as well. You see those first 3 names, those are all 2nd-year players, all of which will play major roles on the success of the defense this year. And Mike Rucker, I guess youth can be okay as long as you've got talent to back it up.
One of the things when you go in a youth movement is that you might lose game experience, but if your guys can play fast, then get to around the ball, then that makes up for some of that. And so that's allowed them to be good last year, and now they're getting the starting roles now, and they're even playing better now.
Renner on the carry. Charles Johnson.
Again, Charles Johnson, just a little stretch play, but Charles using his speed and quickness just to run and be a ball hawk. It's just a simple run play, but Charles says, I am not going to be blocked. I'm going to get to the ball. And that's something that he has changed, his motor. Coming out of college, he didn't have to come in a starting role, but now that he's gotten this role, he's got a nonstop motor.
He only had 2 starts last year, and yet he picked up 4 sacks. He forced 2 fumbles, so when he was on the field, he made plays.
And speaking of,
Charles Johnson again makes another play as Vince Young goes down. Charles Johnson trying to make a statement this preseason. He is ready to be an impact player this year.
The big fella uses what we call a spin move. He just uses his speed, gets a nice little spin move, and uses his power and gets him another sack. We talk about Charles Johnson and his speed and his bigness, but he uses his power and his speed. And that's something that Charles has done, as we've talked about, is that leadership and that confidence. You can see the confidence when you talk to him. He knows he's going to go in there and have sacks. He knows he's going to go into the game getting tackles. And that's something that's breeding to the whole defensive line as a whole.
Defense can pin its ears back on 3rd and long. And the Titans go conservative. Everett Brown trips up Javon Ringer. And the Titans will have to punt it away. The Panthers defense continues to be extra salty.
When you talk about this defense and it being a young overall team and a young defense, you couldn't tell. When I look at this game, I see speed, and I see these guys like they're 10-year vets. They're playing like 10-year vets. And that's what you like as a defensive coordinator. Coach Fox has got to be happy too, having a big question mark on this defense, and they're playing very well.
There's a priceless look on Brian Baker's face, defensive line coach for the Panthers. He's having fun. Let's see if the offense and special teams can have some fun. Here's Trent Guy, flag on the play. He's got the corner. Guy bumped out of bounds at midfield, but this one might be coming back. 50 yards on the punt. Good return by the special teams. Not a penalty flag. Well, this one's all the way at the 25. This might actually be on the Titans.
During the kick, holding. Number 53 in the return team. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Let's throw it down to the field. Pete Yanity.
Mike, coming up at halftime, we'll talk to one half of Double Trouble. Jonathan Stewart stops by for a visit. Of course, he and D'Angelo Williams, an NFL record last year. The first two teammates to each exceed 1,100 yards in the same year. Jonathan Stewart hopes to be ready to go for the regular season. We'll get his thoughts. Plus, check out what else is happening on a Saturday night in preseason plays. Bud Light takes us around the league, and it's coming up, and we see you at the half.
All right, Pete Yanity looking forward to that. Jonathan Stewart, one of the more exciting running backs in the National Football League in his third year out of Oregon. And boy, they call it double trouble for a reason. Both backs over 1,100 yards last season, first time in NFL history. And I can't imagine any reason why we're not going to see more of the same this year from those two guys.
As a defensive coordinator, you cannot like looking at the two guys back there. They just tag off. When one gets tired, they just tag off.
Matt Moore has all kinds of time. Question is anybody open? He's going deep down the field. Rosario's there and incomplete. Boy, Rosario was waving his arm, streaking down the near sideline. By the time Moore found him, he underthrows this ball a bit, and that allows the Titans secondary to get back.
Well, the offensive line gave Matt the time to be able to step up in the pocket and look down the field. Matt was just a little bit off balance on this long throw, and you got a guy coming at your knees. You got to be careful. But Dante was the intended receiver, but then he turns into a defensive back where he's going to have to get the ball down, and did a great job of not letting that Titans defensive guy get it.
Rosario goes 6'4". He got up there, but Chris Hope knocks it away, setting up 2nd and 10. This is Goodson, and he's wrapped up behind the line. So another 3rd and long. The Panthers have had 5 consecutive 3-and-outs. And this will send us to the 2-minute warning. We'll see what John Fox and company can dial up on what will be the 8th 3rd down for the Panthers tonight. Back after a word from our local Panthers. Scoreless game thus far. 2 minutes remaining in the first half. There is the G&G boys that we just saw highlighted. Gamble and Godfrey, who have been once again very good tonight. As we took a look at the statistics in the first half, Mike Rucker, I know as a defensive guy, you love these numbers. As an offensive guy, maybe some folks would like to see some more yards on the board and certainly some more points.
Yeah, all 3 preseason games have been a defensive battle. Yes, you need to see some more, maybe better on 2nd down, setting you up for the 3rd down. So you're not doing 3rd and 10, 3rd and 9. So you maybe go back a step and look at the 2nd downs and try to get better there.
Another 3rd and 10. Moore over the middle. Rosario. First down. That's the best looking pass play we may have seen this entire preseason, as Rosario finds the seam, and what a strike by Moore.
Well, obviously you've seen a trend. Dante Rosario has been a target all day, and he's got speed. He can block, but he's got speed, and Matt Moore using the 2-minute warning and the timeouts in this game to get better at the 2-minute drill.
24 yards there. An attempted pass to David Geddes, the rookie out of Baylor, incomplete. Broken up by Werner, the rookie out of UCLA, who they are extremely high on in Tennessee.
Dante's been a positive today. You know, when you can go to your tight end, whether he's running out routes or he's running seam routes, obviously you can see him pull away. So he's got that speed. When you can find a guy that is good for your run game and the blocking, but you can put him in the passing game and he's going to move the sticks, you got a win-win situation.
Second down, 10 yards to go out of the gun. Moore, quick drop. Completes it over the middle. There is Trent Guy. And that's his first catch. 5'8", 171-pounder out of Louisville. 7 yards on the pickup.
You know, Trent Guy is a guy that's been nicked up this preseason, and they really want to get a look at him. You've seen him in the punt returns, and now you're seeing him at wide receiver. He's got a lot of speed.
As you see at the top of your screen, Panthers have 3 timeouts to work with here. There's a catch by Geddes. He takes a lick, but holds on to the football. And the Panthers on the move, moving the chains. And a timeout called. You got 3 of them. A minute left. Wow, what a hit. My goodness, Stephen Tulloch just belted David Geddes.
You know what, though? He hung on to the ball.
Yep.
And that's what you want as a receiver. You take the lick, but you keep on ticking.
And on this drive, you know, it's kind of fitting. David Geddes and Trent Guy are 2 guys that really are going to have to scratch and claw to make this roster. We know Smith, we know Moore, and I'm pretty confident we know Jarrett and then LaFell. I think those 4 are virtual locks just based on the conversations we've had with the coaching staff. But guys like Geddes, Trent Guy, we haven't mentioned Dexter Jackson's name tonight. These are the kind of guys that are going to be fighting for that final roster spot from a wide receiver.
And when you look at that 3rd, 4th receiver, they're also going to be probably playing on special teams. So you got to see what you got in your players. You got to see them. Can you put them in special teams? If someone should get nicked up, can you throw them in the offense? This is the time in the preseason where you get a look at these guys.
7th play of the drive, the 2nd longest of the night for Carolina. Moore, look out, blindside pressure, throws, and incomplete. David Geddes separated, but the throw not there as Moore had some big-time pressure coming from the weak side.
You know, the receivers, let the guy slip right there, had an opportunity to maybe get a wide-open guy. But Matt Moore, he's a guy that is going to be calm in the pocket. You got to be able to see the whole field, but he takes a big hit, but he stays in the pocket. You got to have him to stay in the pocket, keep gunning, keep throwing it downfield, and this thing will come around.
Matt Moore now 9 of 18, 82 yards in the half. 3 receivers in the pattern here, and it's deflected incomplete. Jason Jones out of Eastern Michigan got his hands on it. They don't have Van and Bosch and remember 2 years ago they had him and they had a motivated Albert Hainsworth. The guy before he made $100 million, he was out there making plays, giving it his all, and this defense was one of the best in the NFL last year without the services of some of those veterans. The Titans slipped all the way to 28th, and that is not Jeff Fisher football.
And again, it's a lot of opportunity. They're a fairly young team, and a lot of spots opened up. So a lot of young guys getting an opportunity to play ball.
3rd and 10. Moore has a man caught on his back. Beautiful catch by Brandon LaFell. He dropped an easier one. He catches the harder one. And a timeout called as the Panthers will have a first down. How about Brandon LaFell, the rookie out of LSU?
Very similar route as he dropped it earlier, but this time he makes a great catch. He goes down to get the ball, keeps his eyes on it. That's a tough catch, guys. That's a one-handed catch, might I add you. And that's a great catch by NFL receiver right there.
Our CPI Security Systems red zone offense for the Panthers last year, the numbers 50% touchdowns. That's right around the middle. They'd like to improve on that mark a little bit, particularly with such a great running game. We'll see if they can do that this season. But right now the Panthers are just happy to be in that CPI red zone.
Well, I think you've seen some great routes, some great passing. You know, that was a great catch right there. It was a one-handed catch. That is not easy, folks. When you're going down on your right side to catch it with your right hand, that was a great catch by the rookie. Now you're inside the red zone. Again, this is going to be something that you're able to work on as your red zone and getting better at that.
They're taking another look at this reception and has been challenged. And we'll let you be the judge at home. LaFell looks good. Cradles it. Nicely turns it away from the ground, and that is a catch in any league.
That is a catch. The ball never touches the ground. His right arm is underneath it, cradles it. He has control. I think Jeff Fisher is going to be down a timeout.
This will be the one that's maybe the most definitive look. Yeah, you can just tell there's no part of that ball that ever touches a blade of grass. You know, LaFell, to go back for a moment as we continue to wait on the review, all SEC wideout in 2009 and 2008. You know, this just in, there's some pretty good receivers in that league, so there's no doubting his productivity at LSU. He's not a burner, but Matt Moore, talking about Brandon LaFell, says he's a lot quicker than he looks. And he lights up when he talks about Brandon LaFell. He really thinks this guy can be a playmaker this year.
Well, he's got the size. He's got the Muhsin Muhammad build, and that can run in the run game, can block for his running backs.
As we take a look at the CPI Security Systems red zone defense for the Titans, 60% touchdowns. Again, that's not a good number at all, but the Titans 28th in the league last year.
Receiver had his hand on the ball. Quick catch.
I think the only surprise there is the length of time it took to confirm that. So the Panthers drive continues. This will be the 10th play of the drive coming up. And again, the Panthers looking for their first offensive touchdown of this preseason. Heck, they'd only been in the red zone twice coming into this ball game. Time to cash in now. At the top of the screen, you've got LaFell in the slot. David Geddes near the boundary. Moore surveys, fires, incomplete. Trying to go to the big target, Barnage, but a penalty flag on the play. A little bit late on the flag. Griffin pleading his case. Gary Barnage, 6'5", trying to use that big body. Boy, tight ends just keep getting bigger and bigger, Mike.
And faster.
There is no foul for pass interference. Second down.
Now, honestly, I didn't see it initially, but I always want, maybe they ruled uncatchable.
Yeah, they might just say it's uncatchable, but.
Or maybe the timing was right.
There was a little contact in there, so they probably, the ball was high, so they're probably saying it was uncatchable. But you can see the theme, the tight ends being very involved in this offense today.
39 seconds now remaining in the half. Second down. Penalty flag on the play. Pass complete and then fumbled. And it looked like the Titans got it. They did. Boy, oh boy. Best drive of the preseason. Penalty flag on the play. And a man down on the field.
Illegal formation offense. Number 69 is on the end of the line as an ineligible receiver. That penalty is declined. Result of the play, 1st and 10, Tennessee.
The penalty's on Jordan Gross, but more importantly, Wallace Wright is down on the field, and hopefully he is okay. He's another guy in a dogfight for a roster spot. Let's take another look, Mike.
Well, great catch. He tried to make a move, maybe one move too many, and let that ball be exposed. Fell on his arm. It looks like elbow. He's kind of holding his elbow, but you got to be able to take care of the ball. I mean, when you're having a drive, you off this turnover earlier on in special teams, and you're driving down, it looks like you're going to get some points. That kind of takes the air out of your cell when you cough off the ball like that.
Werner stripped it. The rookie out of UCLA, 4th-round draft pick, who they're extremely high on. Tolik recovered it, and the best drive of the preseason for the Panthers culminates with a fumble in the red zone. So a tough break here, as it looks as if the Panthers will have a scoreless half. And hopefully Wallace Wright is okay. Don't forget, we'll be with you for the final broadcast of this preseason Thursday night. We travel to Pittsburgh, 7:30 p.m. You know, ordinarily that's going to be an interesting setup, Mike, because ordinarily in the fourth game you don't have your starting quarterback out there very long, but Ben Roethlisberger is going to be suspended for a minimum of 4 weeks. He hasn't gotten much work. It'll be the last game action he'll have for another month.
Yeah, and that's a long time, but that'll allow some of this young, some of the 2s and the 3s to maybe get a look at him and get a real all-pro quarterback.
Young throwing on first down. And it looks like the Titans are going to burn a timeout and run a little 2-minute offense of their own. Munnerlyn and Beeson out there in coverage. Don't forget, coming up at the half, we will highlight Jonathan Stewart. One half of double trouble. Again, we haven't seen him. He's been battling that Achilles injury, but expect to see him back for week 1 of the regular season. Jonathan Stewart, it's hard to believe he's only in his 3rd year. It feels like Stewart's been around 5-6 years. He's done so much already.
Yeah, that tandem feels like they've been around about 6-7 years. And, you know, with them tagging off like that, that's leaving tread on their tires. They'll be able to extend their NFL career a lot longer by them tag teaming like that.
1st and 10. Young under pursuit, and he's lassoed from behind. Charles Johnson continues to impress.
Charles having a heck of a game with sacks and tackles and just continuously, you know, putting pressure on that quarterback. He's saying, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to get that quarterback.
4 sacks for the Panthers in this first half. That's the highlight. Halftime shows coming your way. Scoreless game here from Charlotte. A whole lot of defense, not a ton of offense, as the Panthers still trying to find the end zone offensively for the first time this year. And Mike Rucker, again, that's the bad news. The good news, obviously, the defense continues to impress.
And you're exactly right. The defense has been outstanding, whether it's playing against the run or getting after the quarterback. When you look at the run, they stretch the plays out on one of the best running backs in the land. Everett Brown, the young defensive end, getting after bench in early, and then Charles Johnson with a nice spin move and getting bench Young down. It was a great drive on the offense. One of them, Dante Rosario down the middle. Nice catches, nice throws, nice one-handed by the rookie LaFell, but then that stopped the drive right here in the fumble right here. Turnovers have hurt in the past in this preseason. This is something that we got to be better at, controlling plays, taking care of the ball, but getting after it on defense.
As we take a look at our halftime stats brought to you by Bank of America, and not surprisingly here, total yards coming at a premium tonight.
And that's the thing. And I think when you look at the stats, you got to go back to 2nd down, which sets you up for 3rd down. And 3rd down hasn't been the best, and that's what you need to do, is to be able to continue these drives and pushing the ball and getting first downs and controlling the clock. That's something that you looked at in the second half to improve upon.
So we get ready for the second half. A kickoff coming up to the Carolina Panthers. That last drive, easily the most successful of the night. 11 plays, 10 of them were passes, which is somewhat encouraging. That obviously is the area that the Panthers most concerned about. We know this team can run the football extremely well. Matt Moore and company looking impressive on that final drive, and we'll see who John Fox and company bring out to start the second half. Moronis, one of the top kickers in all of football, will kick it off. And back to receive again. Trent Guy getting a workout back there. This time on a kickoff return. Trying to find some daylight right side. Has a block. Turns the corner at the 25, 35, and out of bounds across the 40-yard line. And that's what the little man can do when he gets some daylight. Trent Guy, the rookie out of Louisville.
And this is something good to talk about. You can see the speed and why he is here. He's a blazer. He's been nicked up in camp, but now he's got an opportunity, and you can see him as he hits the corner. He pulls away from everybody.
37-yard return by Trent Guy, who was recruited by Bobby Petrino back when he was at Louisville. The numbers on Matt Moore looking a lot more impressive after that last drive. 11 out of 22, 104 yards. No interceptions in terms of picks in this game thus far. Tyrell Sutton on first down gets the handoff out of Northwestern. Sutton is second year in the league. Well, the possessions, you know, the first one and the last one, you can live with those two. Obviously, the results, not what you want, but the Panthers move the ball. Everything in between, 3 and out, and the Panthers really stymied by this Titans defense.
You started the game off with a nice drive. You ended a nice one without the fumble going into half. You want to look how you come out of locker room and how you play.
Moore on second down, and might have been on a different page than Brandon LaFell.
Either way he goes, he was going to be open. Well, I know Matt wish he would have been on the same page right there. You don't know who's on a different page, but you would like to have caught that one. But Jordan Gross, he's one of the veteran guys, one of the linemen just getting nasty and keeping those guys off of his quarterback, and Matt Moore. They're going to really lean on him this year as that veteran O-line. He's that leader. He's that Pro Bowl left tackle that's going to have his hands full every week playing their left defensive end, their right defensive end.
Panthers 4 of 10 on third down. This is 3rd and 8. Moore throws complete. That's Armani Edwards. But that is short of a first down by about a yard. Okay, Mike, it's the preseason. You haven't scored an offensive touchdown yet. Do you go for it? I think we're getting our answer because I see a lot of guys coming off that sideline.
Yeah, you know, the O-line, they're like, hey, we want to go for it. You know, coach was like, you know, we got to play this like normal, and we got to put Matt Moore, he's part of it too. Let's go, coach. Let's go.
He sold me.
Yeah, absolutely. I would have done it, but that's the reason why I'm not a coach.
We don't have to worry about the consequences. That's the beautiful thing. And a little bit of confusion. The Panthers almost had a 12 men on the field penalty. We'll take a timeout with them. Back with more from Charlotte in a moment. Titans have gotten in the backfield a few times. They've heard how bad they were last year defensively, so they have certainly taken these games with a whole lot of pride, and Matt Moore's been under pressure quite a bit in this ball game tonight. The offense, a couple of drives, they've looked good. The rest of the game, they have sputtered. We'll see if Matt Moore stays in the game for the rest of this third quarter. Baker, another beauty. And it'll drop dead. No, it'll go in the end zone. Boy, it bounced just short of the goal line. A little bit of backspin would have been perfect there. Instead, it goes into the end zone. 55 yards on the punt. He's already in midseason form.
That's good. That's good when your punter, you know, he was our player of the game last week, and you could see why. He's consistent when he punts the ball. He helps the defense and put them in the right position.
And into the ball game is Kerry Collins. 16th year at a Penn State. I think a lot of people would be surprised if you were to tell them Kerry Collins is 3rd right now among all active quarterbacks in passing yards. I mean, Peyton Manning and Brett Favre are the only 2 guys ahead of him.
Yeah, he's done that quietly. He's done that quietly.
Kerry Collins, of course, the former Carolina Panther quarterback, first ever picked by the franchise, number 5 overall. He started off pretty good, had a Pro Bowl in his 2nd year in the league, led the Panthers to the championship game, and then kind of went downhill after that. There was the infamous incident where reportedly Kerry just said, you know what, I don't have it anymore. And it wasn't long after that that he was cut by the team, and a lot of people thought Kerry Collins' career would be done by then. He has resurfaced, and he's actually been quite good here of late.
86 to the offense. 10-yard penalty. 2nd down.
One other thing on Collins I thought was one of the more interesting stats that I've ever seen. He made the Pro Bowl in 1996, his 2nd year. Didn't make another Pro Bowl until 12 years later in 2008 when he helped lead the Titans to the playoffs. Remember, it was Vince Young who got benched. Kerry Collins was very good that season. So a 12-year gap between Pro Bowls. I've never heard of such a thing.
I know. But he still has the tools. I mean, he's still here. I mean, he's backing up Vince Young. And, you know, just a couple of years ago, like you said, that they had a great year.
Titans to the ground. And that'll set up another third down. Javon Ringer. A lot of people think Javon Ringer, number 21, can be a very good back in this league. Obviously, he's not going to get many touches when the guy ahead of him is Chris Johnson, who carries it 400+ times a year.
And Javon, what he'll do is when he gets that opportunity, he just got to make the best of it, you know, and learn from a guy who's doing it at a high level. That's why you got to take those opportunities as a young guy, even though you're not playing. Learn from those guys.
This is 3rd and 14. And incomplete. Intended for Jared Cook, second-year man out of South Carolina, a guy that did not live up to the expectations they had hoped last year. They actually traded up to get him. But this year he has put on some weight, put on some muscle. He's running better routes, and they think he can really contribute to the offense for Tennessee.
I don't think you can ever get tired of hearing this, but once again, Panther defense 3 and out. They're off the field again.
Trent Guy is going to be in the hot tub tomorrow. Back again to receive another punt. Guy's got some daylight when he brings this in from the 35. And can't spin out of a tackle as the penalty flag falls to the field. We'll wait for the penalty. It was going to be pretty good field position after a 49-yard punt. But if this is against the Panthers, that will change that in a hurry.
Here in return, illegal blocking it back. Number 54, the return team. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Morty Ivy, the guilty party. Looks like Matt Moore's coming back out. We're back after a word from your local Panthers station. Scoreless game here from Charlotte. Want to remind everybody the announcers for this game are selected and compensated by the Carolina Panthers. This broadcast a copyright presentation. Any use without the expressed permission of the National Football League and the Carolina Panthers is prohibited. Matt Moore still out there for another drive, and why not get him some more work. 12 of 24 thus far, 111 yards. This is probably the most that we've seen the Panthers kind of open things up in the passing game through the 3 games. Jimmy Clausen, who's been battling that toe injury, will likely see him in the 4th quarter of play. And there's a good battle for that number 3 spot between Hunter Cantwell and Tony Pike, the rookie out of Cincinnati. Moore delivers a strike, caught and holding on to it at the 45-yard line. That's David Geddes trying to make a statement. He wants to make this team.
Once again, Titans bring 8 in the box, thinking that the Panthers are going to run. Panthers caught him sleeping. Nice little pass play, big catch, big hit, but it hangs on to the ball, and that's what you need to do as a receiver.
19 yards for the native of Cherry Point, North Carolina. He drew a lot of attention when he ran a 4.39 at his pro day at Baylor. Looked like an offsides on first down as the pile moves forward for about a yard. And it will be offsides on the Titans.
Offside defense, number 96. 5-yard penalty, first down.
You don't need 8 officials to see that penalty. But we do have 8 tonight.
Yes, that was easy.
So the ball at midfield, first down. 3rd penalty of the night on the Titans. The Panthers have 5 infractions thus far. Panthers looking for that elusive offensive touchdown. Moore, 7-step drop, sets up the screen for Sutton. Sutton's got some room, weaving his way through traffic past the 30 and down to the 29-yard line. Tyrell Sutton with a nice job of going through traffic, 20 yards on the pickup.
And that's the energy that you need to have as a football team. You know, just a nice little play action fake turned into a screen. Get behind the big fellas. You don't have to make it all yourself. Just get a block. It gets down 20 yards downfield. Matt Moore, he's excited. He's excited, has the right to. Moving the ball, getting a little energy going.
Sutton, 5,500 total yards at Northwestern. A guy that they're very confident will make this team and make some contributions, as will Mike Goodson in all likelihood. 2nd-year man out of Texas A&M. He was a 4th rounder.
It's all about getting in a rhythm. You know, as an offense, you want a rhythm. As an offensive coordinator, you want a rhythm. And you can see that they're starting to get into a little rhythm. The teams and defenses are going to know you're going to run the ball. So you got to show them like you're going to run the ball. Bring that 8-man up there and then be able to pass the ball. And that's what they've done on this drive early on. And now you've got a little momentum going on.
Kenneth Moore at the bottom of your screen at 2nd and 5. Moore, pump fake, scrambles out. Now we'll tuck it and run. And we'll gallop out of bounds at about the 25. Stanford Keegler was on his tail.
A wise choice to get out of bounds, Matt. He's been around long enough to know that.
Matt Moore out of Valencia, California. And he learned how to do what he just did, extend plays. He says he learned that from Tony Romo back when he was in Cowboys camp in 2007. Romo, one of the best guys at doing that in the league. Not just tucking it and run, but tucking it and buying time before throwing it downfield. Big 3rd and 5 right here. Moore way over the head of Kenneth Moore. And that'll set up a field goal. I don't know if he thought Moore was going to be farther down the field or that was just a throw that got away from him. And the fans with a round of applause for the field goal unit, a chance to get some points in this game. This would be from 43. Casey in his 20th year out of the University of Georgia. The lefty boots it and knocks it through. It's not a touchdown, but it's points nonetheless. 3-0. Our score here from Bank of America Stadium. 3rd quarter action coming your way.
Well, the Panthers striking first, a 3-0 lead now in the 3rd quarter. Pete Hannity with you back at Bank of America Stadium. Wallace Wright really got hit hard late in that first half. The wide receiver, 4th-year veteran out of North Carolina. His return is questionable for the night. One of the more impressive and more physical hits we've seen in this ball game tonight.
Okay, thank you, Pete. Let's take a look at our Belk scoring drive. That's the man that is responsible for the 3 points in this game, a 43-yarder, still nearly automatic after 20 years of service. 6-play drive for the Panthers. And we get a chance to talk about Todd Carter for a moment. He is the kickoff specialist. Reese Lloyd was that guy last year. The Panthers will likely carry 2 kickers. And as Mariani returns it, the rookie out of Montana, past the 25, penalty flag on the play after a 23-yard return.
During the return, holding number 70, the return team. 10-yard penalty, 1st down.
That'll take us to break. 3-0 our score. We've got a score to report to you. The Panthers lead the Tennessee Titans 3-0. 8:23 remaining in the 3rd quarter of play. Tonight's telecast brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. Mike Morgan, Mike Rucker with you here at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. Well, we just mentioned that name, Todd Carter, and obviously guys that are kickoff specialists don't get a lot of attention. There's not a Pro Bowl spot for a guy like that, but Mike, I want to ask you in a moment as you see the completion there for a pickup of 5. A lot of people ask the question, with a 53-man roster, can you afford to take 2 kickers? But in the case of the Panthers, the bigger question might be, can you afford not to?
Well, this game is all about points. And when you have a 20-year guy in John Casey, and he is pretty good at what he does, and he puts points on the board, you don't want to wear his leg out on kickoffs. Yes, it's valuable to keep 3 kickers on your team, but if they're productive and they give your defense good field position and he keeps John Casey healthy and putting points on the board, you'll take it.
To the ground on 2nd and 5. There's some tough running there by Javon Ringer. Give him 4.5 right near the marker. And I think too, to go back to what the Panthers had trouble with last year in the return game, you don't want to have a situation where you've got a guy kicking it off to the 5 every time and giving the other team great field position. This is a team that is so much based on field position, ball control, not turning the ball over, so it kind of plays into what John Fox likes to do.
Absolutely.
They do give Ringer 5 on that last carry, so that gives him a first down. He won't get 5 here. He is stonewalled right at the line of scrimmage. Dan Connor in on another tackle, a tackling machine at Penn State, where he recorded 419 stops.
You know, Dan Connor, the middle linebacker, is getting his first opportunity to start in this league, and he's had a good preseason. You haven't heard his name a whole lot, but when you've heard it, it's been tackles behind the line of scrimmage, and he's done a great job in taking over at that middle linebacker.
Second down and 10. Screen. Ringer. Nothing doing. John Beeson with a tackle. John Beeson. That's almost redundant, isn't it? I mean, the guy makes tackles every time he's out there.
You're right. And, you know, first Charles Johnson, once again, I know his eyes were big as saucers. He should have had that sack, and I know he's kicking himself. But John Beeson comes from the other side of the field to make that tackle. You know when he's on the field because he is sideline to sideline.
Recruited at Miami as a fullback. And played a lot of outside linebacker there, so that the position is not completely new to him. Titans 1 of 8 on third down. This is 3rd and 10, and that's a first down. Soft coverage there by Chris Gamble as Kenny Britt makes the reception.
You hadn't seen that a whole lot on this defense. Big passes or first down and moving the charts. And, you know, so this is kind of rare so far. But Chris Gamble, he's one of the veteran corners back there. Get a little slip right there. He's been real good at being able to drive that ball and get balls out. He's had a great day in tackling at the corner. Let that one get away from him a little bit.
So the drive continues on first down. Collins hands it off. And again, the middle of that Panther defense stout. We haven't talked too much about guys like big number 94 getting dirty down there. That's Lewis Leonard, 4th-year man out of Fresno State.
You're right. You haven't seen a whole lot of runs right up the gut. And, you know, the big fellas, it's been quiet in there. You haven't heard their names a lot, but you haven't seen the ball go up that middle a lot either. So there's a reason there.
Second and long. Collins taps it, fires it, and misses. Charles Johnson again getting in the face of the quarterback. Tell you what, Charles Johnson has played as well in this game as any lineman has for the Panthers in this preseason. Charles Johnson and Everett Brown really look good.
Well, I think they're feeling comfortable. You know, they're starting to see different things, and they know that they don't have that veteran person there, so they're the guys. So they're allowed to kind of breathe and really do what they've come here to do and use their ability.
Third and long. Panthers bring the blitz. Kerry Collins is smothered by Richard Marshall. Another sack for the Panthers, and that is 5 on the night. 16 in the preseason.
Well, like we say, sack by committee. You know, it's just a little corner blitz, and you got speed, and you got, once again, you got Charles Johnson on one end. You got Beeson coming up in the face, and then that allows Richard Marshall to come over there and grab that sack. This defense is all over the place, whether they're blitzing or whether the front four are getting after the quarterback.
A lot of piranhas taking a bite out of Collins on that play. From the 20. And still on his feet. That was inbounds. No, they say out of bounds. It was Brian Witherspoon. That could have been a highlight reel return. A 56-yard punt. And Witherspoon flirting with a sensational return. Back after a word from your local Panthers station. .405 remaining in the third quarter of play. The Carolina Panthers on top of the Tennessee Titans by a score of 3-0. That man Charles Johnson has been all over the field tonight. 4 tackles, 2 sacks. He's been a menace, Mike Rucker.
He has, and he's been relentless. You know, a lot of people coming into this year, the biggest question mark was this defensive line in this front. Charles Johnson taking over Julius Pepper's spot, and so far has been phenomenal, whether it's been taking on the run or getting after the quarterback.
You know, there's been so much talk about how do you fill the void by Julius Peppers. Well, you might not be able to replace him with one man, but I think by committee, this defensive line has a chance to be very good this year. You're going to see a lot of guys subbed in and out as Armani Edwards has another reception at the 36-yard line. Good to see Armani, the young man out of Appalachian State. Did you know that he's had to just kind of stew in those mistakes last week? He played quarterback at Appalachian State, not too far from here in Boone, North Carolina. He went to high school in nearby Greenwood High School in South Carolina. So he's got a lot of family and friends in the stands. He's had to try to shake that off from last week. Good to see him make a couple of plays tonight. How about another play? How about a nice juke move and a little stiff arm out of bounds?
And he just gives you a quick little glimpse these last two plays. As a competitor, yes, you will have bad games. It's how you respond to those bad games. You've had back-to-back passes to him, getting him involved in the game. Quickness. That's I call that the Steve Smith play, where you just raise up, get the ball out there, and let that receiver use his quickness. He moves the sticks.
First player in Division I history to throw for over 10,000 and run for more than 4,000 yards, and that's what he's going to be doing at this level, doing a lot of run after catch. Tyrell Sutton bulldozes ahead for a pickup of about 5. Keegler on the stop, and now Sutton goes down.
You don't want to see that. In the preseason game, you don't want to see guys go down with injuries. It's a hard run by him. He's had a great game today, special teams, and just comes down on that shoulder. You see him wincing right there. That does not feel good.
Well, so often it's not the hit, it's the amount of weight falling down on top of the player on a play like that.
Well, but it's the ground. The ground's not moving and it's not given.
When you have a 285, 290-pound lineman pile driving you into that ground, there's just no physics that are on your side in that situation.
It's not forgiven.
A lot of shoulder injuries coming on plays like that. Hopefully Sutton's okay. 2nd and 5. Matt Moore operating the controls still here in the 3rd quarter. Panther offense trying to find the promised land. Not there. Deflected pass. 52, Mike Rivera.
Well, Titans blitzing here. And one thing that, in camp, they said Mike Goodson, he's grown up and being able to pass block. Now that's a bigger guy. He gets his hands up there, but the guy sticks his nose in there. You'll see a lot of running backs that will go try to cut the knees down, but the little fella stuck his nose in there, kept that guy from getting the sack. And that's what you're wanting to see a guy grow. Last year he was a rookie, another year into this thing, working on his pass blocking.
Panthers 4 of 12 on 3rd. Titans with a blitz. They find LaFell at midfield. Nice cutback. Dives forward, past the 45, down to the 43, and that'll be a 1st down. This is what Brandon LaFell did so well at LSU. He is not afraid to make catches over the middle.
You know what? We just talked about Mike Goodson and sticking his nose in there. He just held that blitzer up and giving Matt Moore that time to get it to LaFell. LaFell, rookie, he says, you know what? It's about yaks. Yards after the catch. He's just not going to go down. He got it, that 1st down, by keeping his feet going.
Led LSU in receiving for 3 consecutive years. We haven't heard much from Dwayne Jarrett tonight in that battle that we talked about at the top. Here's Goodson. He's got some speed. 30, 20, lowers the shoulder and dives forward at about the 16-yard line. Mike Goodson and a great hole on the right side of that offensive line.
And that's where it's going to start. It's going to start with your big fellas up front in that offensive line and your fullback in Fometta. Nice block there that springs Goodson to the outside. When we talk about change of speed and change of back, that's what I'm talking about. When you hit another gear, when you hit the outside open.
That's what they love about this young man. They feel like they can use him on some packages, maybe 3rd down. You get him in open space. He is lightning quick. 26 yards ripped off there by Goodson. On 1st down, they go back to him. And a penalty flag from that umpire thrown way behind the line of scrimmage. Still weird getting used to this.
Holding 69 of the offense. 10-yard penalty. Still 1st down.
That's Jordan Gross, 8th-year man out of Utah. He's kind of the leader of that offensive line, been around for a while, and one of the funnier guys on the team too.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and he's a vet, plays well. You know, he's had a couple holding penalties this preseason, and that could be due to the umpire moving. There's a holding play that could be called every single time. So, you know, it just depends on when that official sees what he wants to throw the flag on.
Are you saying, Mike, that you were held sometimes and it wasn't called?
Yeah, we'd had continuous conversations with the ref.
Look at Goodson with a head of steam inside the 10 and down to the 8-yard line. Mike Goodson has that extra gear that very few backs have.
Well, not only is he a change-up back, but he's changing the complexity of the speed of this game. You can see the energy once he gets the ball in this little screen. Open field, he's got the wheels of a receiver, and he makes things happen. He's moving the change. You can see, you can feel the energy in this stadium and in this drive, all because of Goodson and his speed.
18 yards on that pickup. Now a handoff. This is Vaughn, Josh Vaughn out of Richmond. Let's take a look at the CPI security systems. We're going to hold off on that. We just were so excited to tell you about the red zone. We can't wait to give you red zone stats, and we're going to do it when we return with the fourth quarter. Panthers on the move. $15 minutes left to play. If you think things can't change in 15 minutes, check out Geico after the game. In as little as 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. That's 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico. Third down. The Panthers are 5 of 13 on third down tonight. Moore surveys, fires, passes deflected, and falls to the ground. Incomplete, and Moore upset. He wants a touchdown badly, but he's not going to get it on this drive. Joe Joseph, the defensive tackle, knocks it down. And now our CPI security systems red zone statistics. And boy, we really were hoping to put a number there on that second column in this preseason, but going to have to wait at least for a little bit longer as Casey will get some more work. This will be from 27, a chip shot for him. The 40-year-old knocks it through, and the Panthers put 3 more on the board. 14:53 remaining, 6-0 our score. Carolina on top, 6-0 after another successful drive, 10-play drive to be exact. Our belt scoring drive covering 60 yards, 4 minutes and 12 seconds off the clock, capped off by the 27-yard chip shot by Casey. I guess, Mike, from an offensive standpoint, if you're going to be happy about something tonight, I think Matt Moore has looked sharp at times, and 3 drives tonight of 9 plays or more. That seemed almost like an impossibility in the first couple of games.
And that's an improvement. So you'll take that. You know, there's been some drop balls, but you know, there's some learning experiences, but you're getting that game plan. I mean, this is probably the first time I've ever seen you know, the starters that were into the fourth quarter like that.
Mariani tumbles at the 17-yard line. Our Bank of America stats after 3 quarters of play looks like this. Total yards. Hey, the Panthers have 241 compared to 70. I mean, a lot of times you put up those numbers, Mike, and you're winning the football game by 20 points. Not the case thus far.
Well, there's a reason why Tennessee stats look like that, and that's called Carolina defense flying around. And so, you know, as John Fox, again, as we said in the last 3 weeks, the defense has played very well, and that's why those numbers look like that.
Here's Collins. And a completion right along the sideline. That's Mariani. Might have gotten away with a little push off, but no call.
Well, I don't know. I think it was a little bit more than a little. You know, you know, just a little seam. I mean, a little out route. Got both feet in. He kind of pushed. And that's a little kind of a little veteran move. As he's got his eyes on the ball. As a corner, you got to get your eyes back to the ball. When that receiver gets his eyes up, your eyes get up, or you got to get your hands on him.
Captain Munnerlyn on the coverage. Collins, how about another sack? That's an even half dozen, and Greg Hardy, the rookie out of Ole Miss, he's got plenty already in this preseason.
Well, I think Charles Johnson just kind of tagged him and his tag team in. You know, again, we cannot talk about enough about this defense. Greg Hardy, a rookie, but he gave him 3 moves and a nice spin move. It all started off the speed, check with the hands, spun on him, and bringing Kerry Collins down. Coach Baker's got to be really happy with his young guys. I mean, I know he's an intense guy and he really works hard with these guys, but it's really showing on the field.
I think Greg Hardy's got a good chance to make this team, wouldn't you say? It's a first down reception and more. Mariani, he's a rookie out of Montana, the Grizzlies, one of the top teams in 1AA.
You know, again, they go back to the young guy. The defense got caught into a little zone and they kind of split the linebacker in the corner. Sometimes this is going to happen in the zone. They'll pick you apart sometimes, but you just got to rally to the ball. This is something that we haven't seen a lot, and this can be good too. So it gives these young guys an opportunity at adversity.
37 yards, one of the bigger pass plays of the night. And that's followed up by a loss on the ground. Not much there for number 36. That's Sam Congato, and he is another guy from the Carolinas. Went to school in Columbia, South Carolina before going to Liberty.
A lot of times you see guys are just pass rushers or just run stoppers, but Greg Hardy is both. You know, he just sheds the block using his hands. As a rookie, you don't see a lot of guys use their hands. He uses his hands very well, whether it's on the pass, getting a tackle out of his way, or in that case, getting that block out of the way.
Second down 13. Collins has a man, and that's a touchdown. Jared Cook with a penalty flag on the field, the former Gamecock, a guy that they have high hopes for. 35-yard reception. Let's see what the penalty is.
Illegal hands to the face. Number 25 in the defense. That penalty is declined. Results a touchdown.
Now, Jared Cook is not your typical tight end. This is a guy that in college was clocked with a sub 4.4 40. He's a tall, rangy kid, and Mike, he just burnt the secondary on this one.
And he did. I mean, he's got the size and, like you said, the speed. And I mean, that's a cornerback that you're going around with that right up the middle.
Marcus Hudson, former NC State Wolfpacker out there, got burnt on the coverage. Baronis tacks on the extra point. And we've got a touchdown. Kerry Collins feeling good. Titans up by a point. Back after this from your local Panthers station. Titans up on the Panthers by a point. 7-6 our score. 12.5 to play here in Charlotte. A look at our belt scoring drive. Led by Kerry Collins. 5 plays, 83 yards. And capped off by the Jared Cook 35-yard reception. There's the most tenured coach in the NFL, Jeff Fisher, looking on. How time sneaks up on us. He's been around over a decade now and has done a good job overall. I know every coach gets criticized after every bad year, and certainly the Titans did not have a good one last year, but he's led his team to a Super Bowl. They've been in the playoffs more times than not. I'd say Jeff Fisher has had a pretty solid career. Goodson from the 10. Wiggles at the 20. And somehow still on his feet. You're not going to catch Mike Goodson. Pass midfield, the 20, the 10, and the Panthers have found the end zone. 91 yards for the second-year man out of Texas A&M.
Well, I call that a spark plug.
That was a Houdini act.
That's just pure 1-2. This is just pure 1-2. You know, you got blockers in front of you that'll give you that first lane, but after you start to get hands on you, this is all 1-2, saying I'm not going to go down. And then once again, we talk about the speed. I mean, look at the speed and the stride. It looked like I could put him in the 4x1 relay race.
Put a baton in his hand. No one's going to catch Mike Goodson. Once he gets into the secondary, he's gone. And I still don't know how he got out of all that traffic. And once he did, It was all Mike Goodson. Put on the Jets. The rest is history, and the Panthers will go for 2 here. Trying to make it 14-7. From the 2, Moore under center. I beg your pardon, that's Clausen. And he hands it off, and that's going to be short. Might have been a fumble anyway. Josh Vaughn was the ball carrier. They just brought, kind of snuck in Jimmy Clausen for that play, and the Panthers unable to get the deuce. But biggest play for the Panthers in this preseason, a 91-yard return by Goodson. Somebody give him some oxygen. 12-7 our score. The Panthers with a special teams touchdown. Mike Goodson, there's no one at this point within 15 yards of him. He knows once he gets out of that pile, it's all good. And then, hey, there's still plenty of emotion out here. But as soon as Mike Goodson gets to the bench, okay, it's time for the rub down.
Yeah, there's a reason why he's tired, and he will need some oxygen. Maybe a little Gatorade on there. Maybe get them electrolytes in there.
Did you ever get the rub down after a big play, Mike?
Well, I've never had to run that far and that long.
Maybe after a sack, you just call somebody over. Hey, take care of this, please. Got a knot in my back.
Well, I promise you, they'll do that every single time if they can get that play all the time.
Well, Mike Goodson, if you go back to last preseason, this was one of the guys that really electrified the crowd and the Panthers as a whole. He was a 4th-round draft pick, and nobody really knew what to expect out of Mike Goodson. There was talk about him not getting along with his coach over there, and some people wondered if Mike Goodson had what it took to make it in the NFL. But he immediately impressed in the preseason and got nicked up in the regular season. If they can keep him healthy, as good as Stewart and Williams are, there's still a role for Mike Goodson to get some touches.
Absolutely. And one of the things was, his pass blocking. When you have those blitzes, can you pick up that blitz?
Huge hit. They're going to call that incomplete. A huge hit by Marcus Hudson. He goes 6'2", 200, and he laid a lick right there on Sean Ryan.
And yes, this is just a quick little bootleg, but the big fella took a lick right there, and I know he's going to feel that one tomorrow. He didn't get even a chance to turn his head around before he got licked.
He might need a rub down, but for different reasons.
Absolutely.
Mike Goodson.
He's going to feel that one tomorrow.
He's not tired. He's just in pain. On 2nd down, it's Collins. And that's one thing he can do. He can deliver an accurate strike. Caught by Cook, a penalty flag on the play. Terry Collins has always had a good arm.
Holding. 61 of the offense. 10-yard penalty. 2nd down.
Fernando Velasco, the guilty party, and Mike Goodson, probably just some cramps there. He's going to head to the locker room. He just looks exhausted.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember that last drive, that long drive that they had, I mean, he had some nice runs to the outside. And then that kickoff, that 91-yard kickoff return, you're going to be dehydrated a little bit. And so they'll take care of the fella. He'll be good to go.
The penalty sends them back 10. Panther defense already with 6 sacks tonight. Collins completes it. Another penalty flag. Gain of about 10. Dominique Edison, 2nd-year man out of Stephen F. Austin. And this one's coming back.
Pass interference. Offense, number 19. After this is the goal. Still 2nd down.
So that's how he got open.
When you look at it, when you look in the secondary, you'll see that extra referee, and there's a lot of referees back there. And I think that what they're trying to accomplish there is getting more eyeballs on the different situations and the different guys, receivers and linebackers. And that one came from the far back guy back there who threw that flag on that pass interference.
6th penalty of the night on Tennessee. Now 2nd down, a cheap cab ride. Panthers interception. Brian Witherspoon on the coverage picks it off. And Carolina will have good field position. A chance for an offensive touchdown.
Well, it starts up front. Once again, the rookie, Greg Hardy, just gets that tackle out of the way, makes Kerry Collins throw off of one leg, and let that ball loft, allowed that pick to happen. Great job by the front four, and great job by the secondary in getting the interception.
Witherspoon is a special teams specialist, third-year man out of Stillman, but in great position there to make the pick. And Clausen is in the game. Could be his show the rest of the way. And movement on the line.
Both start. 64 the offense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
64 is Rob Petiti. Let's send it down to Pete Yannity for the latest on Mike Goodson.
Well, they took him off moments ago. Dehydration, a little bit of exhaustion, as you can imagine, on a humid and hot night for a guy who just ran it back about 100 yards. So that's a situation very typical for this time of the year.
All right, Pete. Vaughn on the carry, and he's going the wrong way. Rivera among the white jerseys on that tackle. So Jimmy Clausen out there. You know, the numbers really don't tell the whole story on Clausen. I think overall what you come away the most impressed with, Mike, is that his feel for the game is ahead of the clock in terms of what you would see from a rookie.
And that's what I'm looking for. I mean, you can look at the numbers, but when you, as a rookie, I want to look at him and see how is he feeling comfortable in the pocket, how is he picking up the blitzes, how is he picking up Audubon. Those are the kind of things I want to look at as a young guy coming in here in these preseason games, and he's done that and handled that pretty well.
Steps up in the pocket, throws a strike complete to Kenneth Moore, shoved out of bounds at the 15-yard line. Jimmy Clausen with a 15-yard strike, and I'll tell you what, nobody is going to doubt the accuracy of this man's arm.
Or the arm strength, you know. I mean, this is on a rope right to Kenneth Moore, and Kenneth Moore ducks his head and plows for that extra yardage. But again, Jimmy Clausen, a young guy, he's got a lot of hype on him. But you know what? When you look at his intangibles and just the basics, they're as good as they come.
Third and short. The Panthers 5 of 14 on third down. And a penalty flag on the play. Some sloppiness on this drive.
Both start. 73 the offense. 5-yard penalty. Third down.
Well, you don't expect that from Bernardo. He could very well be the starting right guard. 8th penalty tonight on the Panthers. You know, to go back to Clausen, we hear so much about these guys, these 7th-round draft picks like a Captain Munnerlyn, who they play with a chip on their shoulder because they feel like they were overlooked in the draft. They fall so late in the draft. Here's a guy who's the number 48 overall pick, and he plays with a chip on his shoulder because he thinks he should have been a high first-round pick.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, this is becoming
5-yard penalty. Third down.
Habitual at this point. Now it's Gary Williams.
Well, we call these drive killers. You got a lot of energy, you know, in the interception and turnaround, and you have a play or two, and then all of a sudden you have all these penalties. It slows the game down. Now all of a sudden, instead of 3rd and 3 and 4, now you're looking at 3rd and 12 or 13. That's the kind of stuff that'll kill drives, and that'll drive a coach nuts.
Could be a point killer too. Now this is, I don't know if I've ever seen this 4 in a row.
5-yard penalty. Third down.
C.J. Davis, 4 false start penalties by 4 different players.
Well, yeah, that'll have Coach Magazoo, the O-line coach, very upset. There's a lot of attention on the offensive line. I mean, that's basic. You know, those are mental errors. That's what we call MEs, mental errors. It's not about the physical. It's not even getting the ball snapped.
Could they just be setting up the deep post, Mike? Probably not. Pass complete near the original line of scrimmage. That's David Geddes, who's actually had a pretty big night.
So what happens is, instead of maybe taking a shot to the end zone, now you're just trying to get decent field position for your kicker and hopefully to get 3. That's what we call a drive killer, and it just kind of deadened that drive right there and that opportunity to maybe get a touchdown.
Casey nearly automatic inside of 50, and this is going to be 41 officially. Out of the hold of Baker. And Mr. Automatic puts it through the uprights again. So some good plays that we saw on that drive. Panthers 3 more points on the board, 15-7 our score. Now the Panthers have picked it up. Special teams with a big play and the defense providing a turnover. That leads to a field goal on our belt scoring drive. Third field goal tonight for John Casey, a 41-yarder. And if the Panthers can continue to get things going offensively, we might have that category taken care of. We've seen a defensive touchdown this preseason. We've seen a special teams touchdowns, a few field goals. And that last category, offensive touchdown, could be taken care of in the final 8:13 of this ball game. Mariani again to return to the 20, and look out, he is pummeled at the 22-yard line. R.J. Stanford.
That was a big hit. That's a big hit. When you're flying going 100 miles an hour into traffic, he didn't even see it coming. That's what you want as a special teams coach. That's how you make a football team right there. Being relentless and throwing your body around. Big hits.
R.J. Stanford is the 7th-round draft pick, rookie out of Utah, trying to make this team. Well, the Panthers had
false start, 69 of the offense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
So the Titans get into the act. Our belt player watch. D'Angelo Williams. Mike, did you like what you saw out of D'Angelo tonight?
I do, because I like his hands out of the backfield. You know what he can do in between the tackles on the edge, but when you're called upon to catch that ball into the flats, that's a difficult thing to do, and he's done it well. He had a couple earlier.
Rusty Smith into the game at quarterback now for the Titans. Former Sun Belt Player of the Year at Florida Atlantic and of Boca Raton, Florida, the relatively new program led by Howard Schnellenberger. In the backfield, LeGarrette Blount, and he's made a name for himself in more ways than one. He throws a good right hook in addition to his ability to run the football. And he's trying to make this team as an undrafted free agent. On second down, Smith chased by Hardy, who throws it up for grabs, and it's out of bounds. Greg Hardy had a full head of steam behind him and almost got another sack.
I tell you what, they are licking their chops up front. I mean, this game's about being tough and relentless. He's got did a great job of getting the hands down and just flushing the quarterback. Quarterbacks don't like to have to run and throw the football. They'll do it if they have to, but they don't like it. And Greg Hardy is making them do something they don't like to do.
On 3rd and 5. Panthers rushing just 3. And the quick slant is caught for the first down. That's Damian Williams, the rookie out of Southern Cal. Don't forget the regular season home opener September the 19th. Tampa Bay Bucks come to town, Southern Division opponent. 1,200 tickets remaining for that ball game. Panthers will start the season on the road and then week 2 at home against Tampa. Coming off an 8-8 season. Kind of a hard team to forecast when you think about it, for a number of reasons. 3rd youngest team in the NFL. You take away John Casey, it's the youngest. 37% of this roster is brand new. So there's a lot of young guys out there. And let's get more on that from Pete Yanity.
Yeah, so many rookies, the 10 draft picks, the guys who, of course, were signed as free agents. Sean Fox, an interesting point this week. He says it really takes about 2 years to get a guy's body in NFL shape, because what you're pretty much conditioning them to do is play 2 seasons in one compared to college, because if you got a team that goes deep in the playoffs, you're almost playing twice as many games at this level than on the college level.
And how about that, Mike Berger? I mean, you played in Nebraska, didn't get any more big time than Nebraska when you played there, winning national titles. But yet, when you made the transition to the NFL, how different is it for your body?
Well, it's hard because you're so protected by rules in college with the NCAA and how much you can practice and when you can have pads on. Once you get to the pros, it's a free-for-all. You're going you're padding up. You go from maybe 2 weeks in college to 3 to 4 weeks in the pros, and that's hard on the body. And so for these young guys, I have to tip my hat off to them, because there's a lot of young guys out here and they're playing very well.
There's an interception. Brian Witherspoon, his second of the night. He's supposed to be a return specialist. Brian Witherspoon, in case you weren't sure, that's two interceptions, as he indicates on the hand.
That's how you make football team. The football team is when you are having a knack for the ball. He keeps his eyes on the ball, and the quarterback doesn't take him off and gets his second pick of the night. You got to love that, because all of a sudden now your offense has the ball and giving you an opportunity to get some more points on the board.
And that's what the Panthers will try to get here with 5:28 on the clock. A chance for Jimmy Clausen and company to take it to the promised land. On the ground, it's Vaughn. Rips off about 4. Eric Bakhtiari with the tackle. Last 4 touches for the Panthers, 3 field goals, 1 kickoff return for a touchdown that went 91 yards. So Panthers all of a sudden, after a lot of 3 and outs, starting to move the football well, starting to make some big plays.
I think Coach probably had a nice little talk to him at halftime and said, hey, we need to get something going here.
On second, Vaughn again. And he's tripped up behind the line of scrimmage, so that'll set up 3rd down and about 7. So we'll likely see the arm again of Jimmy Clausen. He's playing with that torn ligament in his toe. He's had that injury since last year at Notre Dame. He's taking pain-killing injections before the games. He says, you know, I just got to deal with it. I've just got to go out there and play with some pain and do what I have to do to get out there. It's a kind of injury that might last all year long.
Well, imagine, you know, picking things up without a thumb. It makes it very difficult. And that's the same thing with the big toe.
Here's Barnidge. Gary Barnidge showing a burst of speed inside the 15 and down to the 14. The big man, all 6'5", 247 of them, lumbering down the sideline.
He said, I'll tell you, you're not the only one that can catch the ball. Nice little out route and turns it up. You know, he's got the angle on some guys, and he's outrunning some DBs. You got to like the speed of the big guy, and I really like getting the tight ends involved. You know, they blocked for these guys all these years. Now all of a sudden they're giving them some love and getting them in the passing game, and they're taking advantage of those passes thrown to them.
50-yard reception by Gary Barnidge. We've seen all 3 tight ends in the passing game tonight. And deflected ball at the line of scrimmage. They were trying to find Edwards out in the flat. I think we're going to see, you know, there's 2 ways of doing it with the tight end. Again, a lot of teams now have 1-star guy. They're going to do it by committee, but all 3 of these guys can catch the football well.
Well, if they can block, they can catch the ball and run, as you've seen tonight, and they're also playing on special teams. And so when you're getting a bang for your buck in that situation where these guys are versatile, that you can rotate them in and out in all 3 of these different phases, that's a plus for your ball club.
To the ground, it's Vaughn. Off right tackle. Vaughn with some help. Downfield blocking by David Geddes, the wideout. Vaughn with a nice carry there. Our CPI Security Systems red zone stats tonight. The Panthers 2 times inside the 20, no touchdowns. A chance to go ahead and cash in here. 3rd down and 1. What are we looking for here, Mike?
Well, either going to the end zone or picking up the 1st down. You know, you're 3rd and 1. You got a healthy running game. Picking up that 1st down here, maybe trying to be able to get a couple other downs to get into the end zone.
Clausen not liking what he sees.
Timeout. Carolina, their 2nd.
And Burns a timeout. Well, Jimmy Clausen grew up in a football family, talks about how that helped him prepare for this moment.
I think my background has definitely helped me, you know, coming from, you know, highly programmed, you know, at Oaks Christian High School and then going to Notre Dame and being under the spotlight at all times and being in a microscope. And Fishbowl, I think, has definitely helped me, you know, make an easier transition to, you know, playing the National Football League and dealing with everything you have to deal with, you know, being a professional athlete and a professional football player.
Well, he's done a great job, and he's exactly right. This is going to prepare him, that background, prepare him for the big lights. And, you know, when you get into situations like this where you're the quarterback and everybody's looking for you to make the decisions and getting guys like earlier on, a wide receiver didn't know where he was going. He got him lined up, okay? That's what you're looking for in an experienced quarterback.
3rd and short. Vaughn still on his feet. Penalty flag to the turf. He's got first down yardage, but he's also got a penalty flag behind him at the 9.
Holding, 64 the offense, 10-yard penalty, 3rd down.
64, that's Rob Petitti again. He already had the false start penalty. Petitti out of Pittsburgh.
That'll make you pull your hair out as a coach. I mean, you pick up the first down and you got a holding call to bring it back. That's not good. You know, here in the 4th quarter, they've had quite a few penalties that have delayed some of these drives, especially when you're that close to the end zone. Now you're back out to around the 15-yard line.
So Clausen will now work out of the gun. 4 receivers in the pattern. Little dump down pass to Vaughn at the 10. Slips a tackle there, and he's gang tackled at the 7. That will be shy, and we'll get another chance to look at John Casey here. Fans want him to go.
Timeout. Tennessee, they're first. It's a 30-second timeout.
And the Titans burning a timeout. So Casey will line up another field goal. I'm going to go back to quarterback experience for a moment. Again, Matt Moore with the only starts of anybody on the roster, just 8. None of the other guys have a single start. It's the youngest quarterbacking crew in the National Football League. Heck, Moore is only 26. Sometimes that can be a dangerous formula to have on your roster, but again, Matt Moore is a guy that when he has been out there, bottom line is the team has won, and of course Clausen, one of the top quarterbacks coming out of college.
And you're exactly right. I mean, and as he talks about his maturity and experience in a system like this, that would only help them if his number was called.
Casey from 25. And he hooks it. A rare chip shot miss by Casey.
Yeah, you're not going to see that very much. I guess he is human, and you know, no one's harder on himself than himself, and he'll be back. Even though he makes a lot of those, the ones that he misses, he'll have that corrected next week. He's a professional.
408 career field goals for John Casey. That's 7th most in NFL history. The original John Casey. We'll be talking more about John Casey at the halftime of our next game against the Steelers. I'll look back at John Casey's career, 20 years long. 7:30 on Thursday night. Keep in mind now it's a Thursday nighter. Ben Roethlisberger might be playing more than you would normally think since he's going to be suspended for the early part of the year. Maybe a good test for the defense. Here's the rookie firing wide. Rusty Smith, the 6th-round draft pick that they used to pick up Smith. I'm going to go back to the Panthers draft for a moment. 10 picks overall, and if you look at the guys that they took, the things they want to accomplish, they want to improve passing the football and defending the pass, because again, even though they were very good in that area last year, they had Julius Peppers. They feel like they might need to get a little bit of help there. Lost some guys in the back 7, and of course Peppers is gone as well. So that's where their draft primarily, that was the primary concern of the draft, and we've seen a lot of those receivers for the passing game involved tonight. Final play before we hit the 2-minute warning, and we're back after a word from your local Panthers station. Column here in this preseason, leading at 15-7 as we look back, and Mike Rucker, defense has been the name of the game.
Well, early on it was defense in the run, and it was the defensive line. Everett Brown getting after the quarterback, and then Charles Johnson saying, hey, I want some of that, getting in there with the sack. Second half they said, well, you know, we're not done. Kerry Collins has a great throw down the middle, But you know what? The Panthers said, hey, we got to answer to that. His name is Mike Goodson. His 91-yard touchdown return was one of the highlights of the night. But the Panthers said, we're not done. You got Brian Witherspoon that came back, and he's had 2 interceptions tonight. This defense has played very well. Here's one of Brian Witherspoon's interception, and here's number 2. You can win a lot of football games when you're getting touchdowns from your special teams and you're getting turnovers and sacks from your defense.
I think the man that we just saw, Ron Meeks, has to be awfully happy about the way his unit has played this entire preseason, as that pass is caught over the middle for a first down. You know, we talked about at the beginning of the game, one of the keys would be drives, sustaining some drives. Well, 12 drives, 7 punts, 6 3-and-outs. That one you'd certainly like to improve on, but it's gotten better at least here in the second half.
And you're right. Early on, you know, there were a lot of 3-and-outs, and when they started the opening drive with 9 plays, and just before halftime, there was 11. But the second half has been some of the best drives and highlights so far.
Twisting tackle there near the 49. I think, too, it should be noted, wow, look, a lot of teams have their top receiver only playing so many downs. We can sit here and debate how good Steve Smith is. Is he the 3rd best receiver in the league? Is he the 5th? Is, you know, one thing I think is clear cut as the ball is recovered by the Titans. What's clear cut is that the Panthers rely on Steve Smith as much as any team relies on one receiver in the NFL. I mean, they have to have him healthy, and without him out there, it really changes the entire complexion of the offense that we see.
Well, it does. I mean, just because of what he brings to the field, once he gets the ball, he's electric, and he makes things happen. I think the biggest thing is getting that number 2 that can take pressure off of him.
Speaking of electric, how about our Subway foot-long play of the game? And I mean, come on, 91 yards, Mike Goodson. Nobody's going to top this tonight.
I mean, the beauty of that is, yes, he ran 91 yards, but he didn't stop. You know, there's so many guys that would have just went down on that play right there, but him keeping his legs moving, and then it turns into 6 points.
Mike Goodson making more strides for this, his 2nd year. Panthers still trying to figure out who are going to be the return men on kickoffs and on punts. Something tells me Mike Goodson is going to play a role in that. We know Captain Munderland, who is not seeing punt returns tonight. It's not because he's been demoted. John Fox telling us, you know, we already know what Captain can do. We saw him last year. We want to see what some of the other guys can do, like a Trent Guy. We saw Armani Edwards last week. But I think you're going to see Mike Goodson on some kickoffs this year, and then punt returns, I guess that's still up for grabs. We did not see Armani tonight. I thought we would. We were kind of led to believe that we would see Armani, but instead it's been the Trent Guy show tonight.
Well, I mean, when you look at the second half and next week, these are going to be the guys, the 3 or 4 guys that are going to make this team are going to come from the second half in the game next week. So there's a couple spots still to be filled with these guys out here. So these guys are going to continue to play hard.
7th rounder R.J. Stanford on the coverage. And that'll bring a 4th down to the table for the Titans. And at this point, you might as well go for it. Under a minute remaining in this ball game. Rusty Smith is battling Chris Sims for that number 3 quarterback spot on the Titans. Pass is in and out of the hands of the tight end. Our players of the game brought to you by Pepsi. For the Titans, Kerry Collins, the former Panther, led the Titans on their lone touchdown drive. And Mike Goodson, not just the 91-yard kickoff return, but he also reminded everybody he's a pretty good running back as well. 4 rushes for 30 yards tonight.
I think there's a lot of guys that you know were right there with Mike Goodson as far as some of their play tonight.
Clausen will take a knee, and that'll do it. John Fox smiling. Panthers have themselves a preseason win. Went 0-4 last year. 0-2 to start this season, but after a 7-game losing streak in the preseason, the Panthers can put one in the win column and get ready for the Pittsburgh Steelers The team will cut the roster by 10 here in the coming days, and then we'll have to make a number of cuts as everybody gets down to 53 before the regular season opener. We got to see plenty of Matt Moore and plenty of Jimmy Clausen late, and we'll be back with more in a moment.